In this video, we'll make an app which looks something like this. So it will have a heading, which is a Bitcoin chart, and then it will have three sections. Okay, all the three sections are similar, and they represent the value of Bitcoin in different currencies. So this first thing actually represents the value of Bitcoin in USD. Okay, and what's the value of Bitcoin in USD? This is the value of Bitcoin in USD, and we will convert this into float type, and then again we will write this. And this is the description. USD means United States dollar. If we can code this part, we can actually code the rest of the part. These are basically replica. Okay, so if we can code this, we will actually copy paste it, change the variable, and set it on our window. Now, the reason for developing this Bitcoin chart is that you may be someone who is interested in crypto and want to know what's the value of crypto. Is it rising, decreasing? So how do you know? You actually have to know. You don't know. We basically deal with currencies that have been actually running for a long time. So you know if the value of Bitcoin is. So the reason for developing this app was that so the reason for developing this app is to track the value of Bitcoin in USD or another currency. Now, you may be really interested in knowing what's the value of cryptocurrency. There's rumors going around in the news that it's increasing day by day, and it will be, way more. There are rumors around going on that we should invest in Bitcoin because its value will keep on increasing. This is the future currency. So you basically want to track the value of Bitcoin. But how do you know whether it's increasing or decreasing? You basically compare, right? You basically compare whether the value of Bitcoin is increasing in comparison to USD or it's decreasing, or maybe some another currency. Let's suppose you are from another country, or you know the value of you want to compare the value of Bitcoin as compared to Euro or Great Britain, a pound, right? So basically that's the reason we have made this app. And using this, we can actually track the value of Bitcoin in different currency. We can see through what's the value of Bitcoin on day-to-day basis. Now we have used on the backend part, we have used an API. Okay, so that API makes a call to the internet and it gives us the data back. And then from there on, we can actually read data and show it on our app. So the reason why we use this app, the API to make this app, is that on day-to-day basis, the value of Bitcoin keeps on changing. And that is the reason we have to actually use API. Instead, we can also use map or maybe slice in some way or the other to actually show some data. But that won't be updated data. We have to change the value on day-to-day basis. Instead, that is the reason we have used API. So this Bitcoin chart will help you to actually kind of track your investment, whether they are increasing or decreasing, and it will help you to you don't have to open a browser and type what's the value of Bitcoin in USD and all the stuff. You can just click on it, and you have the information you need. And you can actually run this in different operating system. You can run it on Android, iOS, or Linux or Windows. In all of the operating system, it works. So let's try to. So we will use Fyne and Golang. We have already installed in our VS Code editor, and we will try to make this app using these two tools. So now we are in our editor, and we will be using Fyne and Golang. And the first thing to do on using Fyne and Golang is basically you have to write this command, go mod init, and write some variable, write some name, anything. It could be like Bitcoin chart. Okay, and just hit enter. This will create a Go mod file which will contain all the dependencies that we will be using. Okay, and then after that we will have to use a command go mod tidy. It will make sure that all the dependency that we have listed here. Okay, we will list out all the dependencies that we need, and that are actually present in our directory. So this is the so these tasks, go mod init. What does it does? It creates an go.mod file, and this file actually contains all the dependency that our app uses. And then after that we have to run go mod tidy. This will make sure all dependencies listed are present in our present. Now after that, let's try to make our app. So we will be So let's write our first line of code, which is package main, and within the package, and we will import some dependencies which will be listed in this within these braces, open braces, and then we have this function main, and here, this is the main function. So after this, we will write the code within this main function. We will create an app, app dot new with ID. So we have basically created an app using. So we can see as we hit enter and import, this thing has been imported. Okay. So whenever as we keep on typing, a few things will keep on adding here because these are the things that we require to run these things. Okay. So we are creating an app using this function, and for that we will use these dependencies. So all the dependencies that we use will be listed here. So we will need to pass an ID. We will not pass any ID here. We'll just write any basis. So we have created a window here. Sorry, we have created an app. Within this app, we will have a window. And the way to create a window is we will write a, which is our app, a dot new window. Okay, and within this, we need to pass the title, which is button chart. Okay, this is the title of our app. And to actually run this, we have to use okay, so as of now we have coded out, we have made an app, and we have actually made a window within this app and passed in title to it. Now we can actually resize this window using w dot. W is basically a variable which will be able to access our window. Okay, so w dot resize, and Fyne, within this resize we pass this Fyne dot new size, and then we have to pass these parameters. We will pass 300 and 400, and to run this app we can actually use w dot show and run. This function will ensure our app show, the window is shown and our app runs. Okay? These two tasks are actually done by this function. Now before running this, in our window we haven't added anything, right? We haven't added anything. It's just that we have the size, we have a title, that's it, nothing else. So we'll do something. Okay, what we wish to do is we should get some data, right? And we have to get these data as we have to get some data, right? And which will be actually value of Bitcoin in some currency format. So for this data we will be using API. So after googling a lot, we found an API. Okay, and that API is this is the API. Okay, this is the CoindEsk is basically a website, and it provides this API to actually get some data. That is, gets the value of data in JSON format. Okay, so we will store these things in a variable. Let's write this variable as URL and fmt.printf. This is a function which basically can store value in some specific format. Okay, so we can pass some format specifier here. But we will not be using it here as of now. And you might see some error here that URL, okay, URL is declared not used. So we have declared this variable which contains this URL, but we haven't used it. But as we keep on writing our code, we will be using it, and hence this error will be removed on their own. So after removing this URL, let's see what this thing. So what this when we request this so we can let's try to see what the data we get. We get this data, okay, and this is in JSON format. It might not be convenient to read it, so we have basically copy pasted it here. So we have different currency name, okay, currency code, and then we have the symbol of this code, the symbol of USD, right? Each of these currency has a symbol, and then we have this rate, the description, and the rate in terms of float, okay, float value. So we will be using this this API, okay, this JSON data, which we will get by making GET request using this API, and then we will try to get these data in our app. So API part. So now we'll try it. We have the URL, and using this API we will. So the way to get an data from an API is HTTP. HTTP is a module in Go, and it has this function get. It makes GET request, and within the GET request we have to pass a variable. So sorry, the URL on which we want to make a GET request. Okay, and that GET request will get some data, and it will be stored in an. So it will return two things. First, it will return this response we get, and the second thing will be an error. Okay, this will be an error, but we won't be using an error, so we are putting an underscore here. After making this request, we will be actually have to close the body. Okay. Now the body contains the response we get will have body, headers, and several other things. But we want to just close the body and then close the response, the body of the response, and then use that body. Okay. So we'll use this method rest dot body dot close. So this method makes sure that our body is closed before we actually use it. Now we have got the response, we got the error, but because we are not using the error, we have put an underscore. HTTP is a module, it has a function in which we have to pass an API from where we want to make a GET request, and we get two parameters, our response and an error. We will differ, okay? We will make sure we wait till the body is closed, and once the body is closed, we will use the body. And how do we use the body? We use this IOUtil package, and within this package we have this read all function, and within this read all function we have to pass the response, the body of the response. Okay, now this is an important task. Many people forget it, that here we have to pass the body of the response and not the response. Response contains several things. Okay, it contains several things, headers, and way more complex stuff. We will not get into it, so we have to pass the body. So we have use this module io.util. Within this, there is a function read all, and with read all function takes in parameter, which is the response of which is the body of the response. Okay, and what does it returns? It returns the body and an error, and we won't be using an error, so we are writing an underscore. Whenever we don't wish to use anything, we'll put an underscore. You know. That's the basic task. So why is it that we are getting a label res? The problem. I don't see any problem. The problem could be. Okay, I can put an equal to sign here. Okay, now this is showing an error HTTP, right? So we have to pass this thing as that we need HTTP in our app. Okay. And we will also be using IOUtil package, so we will have to pass another thing as io slash what's that? IOUtil. It's IOUtil. io slash IOUtil. And so you can see we made. Let's revise again what we have done. We have made an app with an ID. Within that app, we have made a new window. Title of this window. This window can be referenced using W. So we have used this the window and resized it, and this is the resized part. And after that, we have come to the API part. Okay, so this is the API. So we will make a request. We will make a request. We'll make a request to this URL. Okay, and for that we use this HTTP module, and within this HTTP module we have a get function which actually makes a get request to the URL which is passed. and what we get in return is a response, okay, and an error. And we will not be using an error, so we have put an underscore here. After that, we will be using the body of the response. Okay, for that we have used this read-all function, which is available in IOUtil package, and we have passed the rest.body. Okay, it will read the body of the response, and that we have stored in, and this function returns two parameters. Okay, it returns two things. The first is a body of the response, and the second thing is an error. So we'll be using our body. Okay, so to use our body, yeah, now so this is one thing which we need to do. We copy paste this JSON data, and there is a website known as quick system really slow quicktype.io. What this site does is, when we enter JSON data, it will provide its structure. Okay, it will provide a structure based on the language, and so what this site does is, it basically takes JSON data. So we'll paste our data here, and it will give us a structure in Go language. Okay, so we'll select as language as Go, and this is the structure we have got. Let's copy the whole code and paste it in our code. So this is the structure we have got. Okay, we will remove this package because we have already written this line before, and to import we'll cut this and we'll copy paste it here. We got data and we got in structure. Okay, and we will use this structure. So let's go through it and try to capture what the structure is. So this is a struct, okay, of currency type, and it has four things. Okay, time, which is of type time, disclaimer, which is of string type, chart string type, BPI is of type. Now time is not an repeated type, right? So it even this will be in struct. Okay, and this will be in struct. Let's see what time is. So type contains when the updated contains updated, which is a string type. So all these things are value. Okay, all these things are value, and each of them reference to some type of JSON code. We will remove this package, everything here where we have this package line, we will remove this. We have our structure, which using this we can actually find the JSON data we are actually trying to access. And the way to access, the way to use it, we use this line, okay, currency converter ER unmarshal. So unmarshal currency converter basically is a function that we created, and it takes an data which is of byte type. So it takes body actually, and then it returns currency converter, okay, an error. So currency converter, because it returns currency converter here, as we can see, in a function in Go, this is the function name, this is the data it wishes to receive, this is what it will return. Okay, so it returns some data of which is of currency converter type and an error. So we will use this line actually to access our code. So we'll copy this, paste this here, and within this we'll pass the body, not the, which is in byte form. Like CoindDesk, and we will not be using an error. We will not using the error, so we will put an underscore here. Now let's try to run our app. fmt dot println, and within this we pass this body. What is this IOUtil? Undeclared name. How is this undeclared name? So let's try to run go mod tidy to actually download all the dependency which are listed but not present. I think it's correct. Let's run our go run main.go. So so a window will appear. It will have a title. The size of the window will be this, and there will be nothing in the window, but what we will get is a response in our console. We will get something in our console. So let's wait for it to run. So we have basically used go run main.go and window actually opened, but I'm unable to record it on VS Code. And but we got a response. Okay, we got a response exactly what we expected it to be. It is something similar to this. Okay, we have the time. This data was produced by CoindDesk. Okay, we have this currency code. We have currency description, currency code, in currency rate in float. Okay, and this is the currency code actually. So we got everything that we actually needed in our app. So as we let's go back to our app, what we wished it to. So we got all these value here. Okay, we got the US, the code, the rate in float, and the description. All these things were actually available in our API. We have this code, rate, description, code in float type. Okay. So now since we are done with the actually we are able to access the data using our API. So what we will do is wait a second, please. So we'll try to add some tasks. So we'll try to add some few things into it. Okay, not the description. All the things will be like we will try to get that from the JSON file and put that on our window so that it's visible to us. And we will do that for just one time because we have to know our app is repetitive. It actually uses it. So we'll do that first and then try to copy the code several times to see that for different currency and change few things. So we have we are able to now let's create a text, and this will be canvas dot new text, and within wait a second. In this task, we will pass CoindDesk dot chart name. Chart name. Chart. One. So what we are doing here is we have this canvas module in Fyne, and it has this function new text, which has the capability to show text. And within this, the first parameter is text, and the second thing is the color of the text. And the first parameter is that we have passed is CoindDesk.chart name. So we have this things in our API chart name. So chart name is here Bitcoin. Okay, so it will actually show Bitcoin, and then chart will be added to it. So now we are done with so let's use a variable to access this label 1 is what we will be using. Now we are done with label 1. Let's try to add some style to it. So we will use this alignment and alignment find dot alignment find dot alignment row. Center should be, yeah, text align center. So we will align these things. In our, if you remember, our app looks something like this. We can see we have the heading is at the center. So we will line it, and we will also make this thing as bold. Okay. As you can see, this is at center and it is of bold. So let's so we have center aligned it using this line, okay, this code, and then we will label 1 dot, then the text style, maybe text style something, text style. It should give some suggestion, but it's not giving. Fyne dot what text style. Text style. So we have this text style. It takes value as bold, and it should be true. So we can actually press Control Alt F12 and see that text style is in structure, and it can take up to 3 values. Okay, and all of them should be Boolean. So we have actually passed bold as true. Okay. And this here we can see bold is here we can see bold is true. Okay, so let's go back to our code. So this is our label 1. Now we are done with our label 1. We will be trying to access different things. So we will try to access a few things from our. So what we wish to get here is so first thing we have to take is the code. Okay. So first thing that we will require is our code. The second thing is the rate of the Bitcoin in terms of USD. Okay. And then third is the description of the currency in which we wish to access the value of Bitcoin. And then the value of the Bitcoin in USD in float types. Okay. This is of float type. Okay. Sorry for bad handwriting. It is of actually float. Okay, so these 4 things are something which we need to access first from the body of the JSON that we got by making a GET request on API. Now we have this thing. So we'll use F1 as the variable which will contain fmt.sprintf. So as we have used we can use SM. So we will be using sprintf function here, fmt module, and within that we will pass this thing as percentile. So we are passing format specifier. So S is for string type. So CoindDesk. So as we got this session, so we first wish is to get the code, right? We get the code symbol, and sorry, it should be the code, right? It will be code, yeah. So what? Let's try to understand what this thing means. CoindEsk.bpi.usd.code. So in the API we have USD, and within this USD we have the code. So we are trying to access bpi.usd.code. Okay, bpi.usd.code. What is this? CoindEsk. CoindEsk is basically the response, the body of the response. Okay, we have this and we have passed that into this function. And what does this function does? It basically, we can access this JSON using these structures, declared structure. Okay, so what we are doing is BPI has something as USD, and USD has something as where is USD? Sorry, BPI. Let's try to write again. bpi.usd.code. Okay, USD. Okay, USD is of euro type, right? So we will look at this structure and we will wish to get this thing. Okay, so we wish to get this code thing, and the way to actually get it is CoindEsk.bpi.usd. Okay, so it may be a little bit complicated, but as we keep on writing it again, we will get to see what it means. And so we have used sprintf, which basically has the ability to use format specifier. So we'll write all the format specifier here. The type of the format specifier is something which we need to look on. This is a string type, so we are practicing percentile Otherwise, we would have passed another format specifier based on the type of value we have here after the comma. And the second thing which we wishes to access is fmt. So we will again write this thing. Let's copy paste it. Okay, and here we will write the not the code, but we wish to get the second thing which we in our app is the rate. Okay, we wish to get the rate. The third thing we wish to get is description, and the fourth thing which we wish to get is the rate in float type. Okay, and we have used this different variable. So let's have a look at this. What this thing does is CoindEsk.bpi.usd.rate. Okay, so we'll just CoindEsk.bpi.usd.rate. So it will access this value. Okay, and what does this CoindEsk means? CoindEsk is basically something which is written by this function, and what this function does is we have this structure, and using this structure we can actually get the value of the JSON without actually writing actually going through this code. Okay, without actually going through this JSON. We're able to access our JSON using the structure. So we have this S1, S2, S3, S4, and after that we will be putting these things into an widget. Okay, so the widget we will be using here is new text grid from string. This is something which we need to understand. Let's first pass on the value it wishes to get. We wish to enter S1, and after that so now we have now we will try to show this these things on our console first, and then we will try to put these things into our UI. So let's write fmt or println S2, S3, S4, S1. Okay, and we will have to uncomment this because we are using canvas here. Here we are using canvas, so we have to uncomment it, and maybe we have to uncomment the widget too. Let's try to run go more tidy. These errors not declared, but fmt is here. Why are okay? P should be capital here. P should be capital here. Now there is no error, and this error label one, only label one dot text, and color dot y. So color dot y is there because we should be using this package. Now there shouldn't be error, and let's run our code. Go run main main.go. So after 15 minutes, my system got hanged, but we got a response. We got the code. We got the in each of these we have written code, so that is the reason we are getting code here. But here we got the actually code, then the rate, then the description, and then the float type. But there is something problem here. We will try to okay. So we have used S as format specifier. It should be maybe 0.2f. Okay, 0.2f means it will be float type, and it has till 2 decimal digits. And instead of code here, we will write a rate, and this will be the description. Okay, and then the rate. Let's write it as float or rate float. Okay, let's try to run our code. So on running our app, we got this thing. Okay, we got the code, we got the rate, description, and the layouts. Okay, all these things were actually, we printed these S1, S2, S3, and we got these things. And this was the whole body of the API, of the whole body of the response we got on calling the API. And so let's try to go further. So we will remove these things. Okay, we will comment them. These won't be used anymore. And after that, we will actually, since we have got all these things, we will try to put this on our UI, in our UI. So for that, we have to first create some form of layout. Okay, so so we will create a grid, and this grid will be of text type. From string. Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Text grid from, there's something called as new. Okay, so should be new, then text. New text. So there's something called as new text grid from string. So it creates a grid from string. Okay, so we will actually, as we use, so let's see how we use it. So we'll pass the value of S2 plus a new line. Then we will use pass all the values. Okay, S2, S4, everything, S3. Let's copy this thing. So these things, because we are using in widget here, and the widget that we are using is new text grid from string. So looking at it, so it basically creates a grid. Okay, it is basically a grid system, and it takes in string. Okay, and it so we have used this new grid from string. Next, so we have this within the widget module, we have this thing called as new text grid from string. So what it does is, let's understand on our VS Code editor. Let's understand it on an open board. So what this does is, we are basically creating an grid. Okay, and this will contain the code, rate, description, and rate in terms of float. So this whole thing will basically be a grid, and this grid will consist of text. So the first line we will have this code thing. Okay, this isn't text actually, right? It's in string type, and then the rate, and then the description, and the rate in terms of float. And this is the okay. And what is this? This is the first within the grid we have this thing, rows and columns. So this is the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, and they are columns. Okay, they are columns and they are rows. That's what grid means, right? So we have these rows. With the first row we will put the first value, the second row second value, third row third value, and fourth row fourth value. And in this way we will get this thing. Okay, this way we will get this thing. So the layout which we are using, so the layout which we are using is new, the widget that we are using is new text grid from string. Okay, so it's a widget, it's like a box. Within the box, it's a grid system. That grid system can contain string, and we have passed string and a new line, string and a new line, string and a new line, and then a new line. So in the end, there is a new line. After that, we will set some style to it. Okay, this grid. Okay, so we should actually store somewhere, somewhere. This grid will contain some style. Okay, so we'll set style range. Okay, so what this thing does is it has so we can see that this thing has, it takes 5 values. Okay, the first is the start row, the second is start column, end row, end column, and then the text grid style. Okay, and widget, which is a text grid style. Okay, so we'll pass this later on. First we will write the column. So this is the start of the column. The style will range from 4th row till, till 7th row, and from 0th column to 7th column. And after that, we will pass in after that, what should we pass is to grid. So this we have to pass in widget of text grid style, not the text grid. So to pass the text grid from style, we will use widget dot custom grid style. Okay, and within this we will pass in color, bg color. So I will try to explain what this means. So here let's try to see. So this thing, grid. What is grid? Grid is basically an widget, which has a grid system into it. Okay, grid, it's a widget, and there's a grid system within it. Within that grid system, we have strings, and we are setting style to it. Okay, and the style in the grid ranges. Okay, it ranges from the in terms of column and rows. So we are actually ranging the style from 4th row till 7th row, and from 0th column to 7th column. And what is the style? We have to pass this style. And within this style, we are passing a custom text grid style, which will contain a color. And in terms of color, we are writing BG color, and we are passing this color. This is the way we pass color in Fyne. So we will pass, this is R is means red, then the value of G, then B, and then A. G. The value of G, let's take it as 60, 80. And R is red, 92, and then A. Let's start with 128. Or should be capital here. Is it? So okay, it should be R, G, B, B, and then an A. B and then A. Okay, this is the thing. What did you do? Let's see. Let's revise again. We have a widget which has a grid system to take string. We have passed the string into it, and we are setting style to it. Now the grid system actually takes style in range. Okay, from rows in terms of rows and column. So style can range from in terms of rows or columns. So what we are actually, this is a style that we are passing. This is the style. It's a custom style for text grid, and we have passed this color into it, and the range will be from 4th row to 7th row, from 0th column to 7th column. Okay, we can actually, we can see in the description that the first parameter is in start row, the second parameter is the start column, third is end row, and fourth is the end column, and in the end we have to pass an widget which is of text grid style. So we have actually used n%, which is basically an address. Okay, address of this style. So after this we will use grid. So in the first row, okay, we want to enter in style. Okay, and that style it should be okay. So in the grid system we have this range. So in the grid system we have this range, and on this range we will have this style, but we also wish to pass the same style to the first row. In the grid, we can actually show line numbers. So we will show the line numbers, show line numbers, and it will set to true because it takes Boolean value, right? And then in the same similar way, we will also show the white spaces, show white spaces. It should white spaces and also set it to true. Okay, so we have got these values, different values in this variable. We have set these values into this widget, which is a new text grid from string. Okay, and then we have set the style range, and the first row will have this style, and we want to show the line numbers and also the white spaces. Okay, now let's try to view this style, this UI that we have created. So now we have the access to these values, and we also have this UI. Now let's try to show that UI. So to show that UI, we will actually be using a container. So we will be using a container, and it will be in vertical box. Okay, V box. So everything will be in terms of columns. Okay, there will be first row, then the second row, third row. That's how the V box runs. The V box container runs, and so as of now, we have a label. Okay, we have created this label, label 1. Okay, and we have these values which are in a grid. So we'll be able to show in label and grid. So we'll pass the label 1 comma grid. So the first row will contain label, second row will contain grid. Okay, and after that we will try to we will be able to access this container using E, and let's E dot resize E dot resize, and then the resize will write find dot new size, and the size will pass is 300 comma 300. So we have actually passed a size before, but that was for window. Okay, this is the size of the window. And the size of the window was 300 by 400, but the size of this container, this new box container, is smaller than the app actually. Okay, so this is something we can actually set size of different components in Fyne. So why is it giving an error? Read by the problem. Okay, so accidentally we have used new animation. Instead, we should have used new size. Okay, this is okay. Now we will take a container and put the border around it. Okay, we'll put the border around it, and that would be, let's take this E. So we have this container dot new border. Okay, so there's this border, and it will create a border. So the first thing, let's there's no definition found. So it goes in a rotation wise, from top, right, and then bottom, and then left. On top, we don't want anything. On the bottom, on the right, we don't want anything. The nil, and then E. I think that is the sequence. E is basically the container, virtual box container. Within this, they have this label. Okay, and this is how Fyne works. Okay, so let's try to write this on the board. So you can see that let's try to understand this. So we have this thing. Okay, what we have done is we have these things. What are these? These are the values that we got from calling the API. Now these things, these strings, these are strings. Okay, these strings are actually passed into an. Sorry, these strings are actually passed. So these strings are actually passed in a new grid from string, which is a widget. So this is a widget. Let's suppose this is the widget. This is the widget, and we have passed these S1, S2, S3 in this. S1, S2, S3, S4, all these values have been passed here. And this whole grid, okay, this is in grid, right? Let's change the color. What is this? This is in grid. This grid will actually be passed into an container. What is this? This is a E container. Okay, what type of container this is? It's a vertical container. The first thing will be a label, and second thing will be this grid. Okay. And this whole thing will be passed into an another container. Okay, which will be of border type. It will have some kind of border. Okay, and these things will be passed into this border. Okay, these border are actually maintained by nil, nil, nil. E means the top will be nil. Sorry, the top will be nil, the right will be nil, the bottom will be nil, and from the right we will passing E value. Okay, it works something like this. We can actually check the description to check the order in which these borders are actually defined. So I hope it's clear. We have this small widget which contains string. This is passed into another widget which actually contains a label on the top, and then this container, and then there's another this bigger container which is of border type. So let's sorry. So we have this. Sorry, let's revise this. We have this. Okay, what was this? This was the grid. So the grid. It contains string in grid format. Okay, now this whole thing actually was passed into an. What was it? Was passed into an container. Type of the container was, it was in vertical container. It was in vertical container having label at the top and the grid at the bottom. After that, this whole thing, this was the E. Okay, E. This was the E container. This E container was actually passed into an border type container. Okay, which has the border, and we can set the border as we want. I hope the layout is clear to you. Now let's get back to our screen. Let's get back to our code. So now we have this thing, okay, and let's try to find it's not showing the definition. I don't know why. Show definition container, not new order. Okay. Maybe because we have commented the container, but we have actually imported it. Okay, so try to think. It's loading. Find V2 as container. Where is that? Imported but not used, but we have actually used a widget here. We basically need definition for this. That's all we need. Okay, so the first parameter is the top, second is the bottom, third is the left border, fourth is the right, and all these things are of canvas object type. Okay, and then in the end we have to pass an object that we an object which will be, again will be of canvas object type. Okay, so we will first pass the values of these top, bottom, left, right, and then we will pass an object. So the last thing will be our E container. Okay, the last thing will be our E. So the top should be also nil. Top should also be nil. Okay, now we are done with this. Now we will try to let's try to run our code. So before running our code, we need to set this container. We need to set this container. Let's try this container in our window. So window.setContent is the method we will use, set content, and within that content we will pass the which is basically the container which has border around it. So now let's try to run the code and try to leave no error. It will run perfectly, but let's comment one thing. Okay, it should work. It should work then. Go run main.go. What we will get in console, we will get the body of the response we got from API, and after that we will get the values of the code and all those stuff. These things we have commented, so we won't be getting this, but we haven't commented this line, so we will be getting the whole body altogether, and the app we will be running our app. So I will try to show our app. So as we can see, this is our app. Okay, this is our app, and we can see that the first thing we got is code, the second thing is the rate, then the description, and then the code. Okay, now let's try to expand it a little bit so we can see. So the description, these are the line number. We also have the white spaces. Okay, these are the white spaces. Enter, we can see here if you look closely. And so this was the whole UI. So let's try to, so now we have this thing. We just have to make a replica of these thing for another currencies. Okay, so all we need to change is the end point of the response we got. The end point of the body we have to change, and then actually replicate this UI to get the value of Bitcoin in another currency. So let's try to do that first. So now we know that we just have to make a replica of what we have done before. So we have this label. We will not be actually replicating it, but we will be copying this whole thing. We'll be copying this whole thing, okay, until up to this point. Okay. Here we have actually tried to access the endpoint and the body of the response, and later on in line number 60, from here we have actually set these strings into a grid, set style to it, and all that stuff we have done. So let's try to make part 2. This is the part 2 of the UI, right? It is the part 2 of UI, and we have copy pasted it. So all we need to do is change the variable name. So instead of S, we will write let's use R. Okay, that's all we need to do here. And here, instead of USD, okay, now let's look at the structure. Okay, structure that we have created before. BPI, we have to, this time we will be using Great Britain pound, okay, GBP. And within the GBP, which is a euro type, we will be using the code, symbol, rate, description, rate float, all that stuff. So here, instead of, where is that line? So here instead of USD, we just have to change the GBP, okay? Just convert into GBP. That's it. Okay. Now this R2 will access the code of Great Britain. This R3 will access the code of the rate of the Great Britain, and this will be access description. And R5 will have the rate in terms of float. Now let's also try to print these things. And we will also print the previous value, so we are able to it gets clear to us that we are actually accessing different endpoints, and we will yeah, that's it. So we will also write an println, okay, just for clarifying purpose, just to make it visually good looking. We're passing this thing, and here also in this grid, here also what we are doing is we are taking another grid. Okay, we are taking another grid, so we have to just change the name of this grid. The name of the grid could be like grid 2. Let's write this as grid 2. This will be grid 2. Okay, so we have made this grid 2, which is actually in widget and it is of widget grid type. Okay, the widget is made of grid, and grid has strings into it. Okay, we have passed the strings, and then we have set the style to it, and we have set the style to the row 1 here, as we have done previously. Then we also want to show the line number and the white spaces. All we need to do is change the grid name. That's it. We are done with this part. Here also we should be using R value, okay, not the S, because we want to see in our console that we are actually accessing the different endpoints. And in this grid, after this grid, we will add the grid one, okay, and here we access the grid one. In this vertical box, first we will have label 1, then grid 1. Why is it? Okay, sorry, grid 2. It should be grid 2. Yeah, grid 2, and nil. E contains. E is basically an virtual box, vertical box in, which has these 3 things in this. Let's try to run our code. Let's try to run our code now. So go run, and main.go is the command. Let's wait for our app to run. So now our app is running, and we can see. Oh, wait a second. You can see, for the first thing, we have this code. This whole thing, the second part, is basically the replica of the first part. The only thing is we have changed the values. But here also we are getting United States, and okay, we need to modify our code. There's some error to it. But as we can see in our console, we got the right response. Okay, we got the USD, GBP, rate are different, and descriptions are different. So there must be some problem with the UI. In the UI, what could be the problem? We have R2, R3, R4. Okay. In the string, we should have passed. Okay, here we should have the strings that we were to pass were R2, R3, R4, R5, not S2. Okay, now this should work completely fine. Also, we can change the color. Okay, we can change the color as. Let's try to run this code. $92. Let this be run 92. Let's make this as 128. And the same thing should be passed below for better UI. So we are changing the color here, and so both of these things look differently. Okay, the upper and the lower parts look differently. Now let's try to run our code. And all we need to do is press upper key, and the previous command shows up, and press enter. So we are waiting for our app to run. It takes a lot of time because the system is quite old. So now our app is running. Okay, it's running. The output it has shown in console is we got the whole body. Okay, we got the whole body of the response we got, and this is the body of the response we got on calling the API. Then we have used the structure to be able to access the endpoint. And for the first, we have used these endpoint for USD. The second thing is for Great Britain pound. Okay, so both of them are different. And let's check the UI. Is it working? And the UI is also working perfectly fine. We have changed the color. That is the reason we are seeing different colors here. The rates, we can see they are different, and they are correct. And yeah, perfectly fine. So the same thing we have to do for the third, fourth, and fifth time. For number of times we want to see, for the whichever. So the same things need to be replicated. Okay, this part is actually have to be replicated and to get the output for so this same part needs to be replicated. So this same part can be replicated again and again to get the value of Bitcoin in different currency format. But our API has this restriction that it gives the value of Bitcoin on only 3 values: Great Britain, USD, and the Great Britain, USD, and maybe Euro. Okay, so we can actually go to our JSON, and in our JSON we can see that we have this value of Bitcoin in USD, Great Britain pound, Euro, and that's it. Okay, and now we can actually buy a premium version of it to get value of Bitcoin in all different currency terms, and we can just replicate. You can just replicate this part again and again to be able to. We can replicate this part again and again to get the value of Bitcoin in different currency format. So let's copy this code, the code for this again, and try to change the variable and get the value of Bitcoin in Euro format, and change the color for this, and also set an image to this whole app. So it looks perfect. So we're closing our app. Now it's closed. Okay. So all we need to do is just copy paste and change the variable name to get the. So this will be our part 3rd. This is the part 2. This will be our part 3. Post or part 1. So this is 3rd. And here also all we need to do is change the variable name, change the endpoint in which take the endpoints which we want to change the X. So all we need to do is change the variable name and change the endpoints that we wish to access. So here, instead of where we want to access the Euro. So EUR is the endpoint. Here also change the variable. Let's write it as V. V. V2, V3, V4, V5. Here also V2, V3, V4, V5. Also, this grid name has to be changed because now we are getting the 3rd grid. Okay, and this will also take string, and all the string that it is supposed to take is V of V1, V2, V3, V3, V4, and V5, right? And let's change the variable name everywhere. Make grade 2 to grade 3. Here we have set the style range. Here we have set the style, added and custom style to the row 1 of this grid. And we also want to show line number and white spaces. We can actually change the color here also. So the color we will be using here is of different type. So let's try to make it different. Change the value, the range, the style to the range will be different here. In the previous parts, the style of the range and the first row was same. Here we will change it to see what difference does it make. So this will be that is 64. Other things let's then be same. Here let's convert it to 0. And 0, red should be 0, green 80, and yeah, let's make blue as 92, and that's it. And now we have created this grid 3, but we actually have to pass this into a container. So this vertical container where we have passed, we actually thought of passing an image to it. Okay, we will pass an image to it. So img, we have passed an image. We will create this image. We can create this at the top. Okay, and this was the API part before the API. But yeah, here we can create an image which will be a canvas dot new file from image, new image from file, and here we have to pass the file, the path of the image. So let's try to get an image from Google and then pass it here. So now we have the image here. We will try. This is the image that we have found on Google, and we will try to add this to image. So, and what's right? Bitcoin dot. It is Bitcoin dot png, and here we have to pass double forward slash this time. Now it won't cause any error. And this image, this image need to be passed. It need to be passed in the container, the virtual vertical container, right? Or bottom. So let's go. Yeah, we have already passed image in our this layout, and yeah, that's it. Now let's try to run our code again. And okay. Maybe in V2, yeah, we have actually changed variables here. This is go run main.go. Now let's try run our app and see how the final output looks like. So we are getting some error. There must be some problem. Okay. So here we should have passed only 3 nil because it takes 4 parameter. 4. This is the top, bottom, left, right, and this E is the last of the object. Okay. Now let's try to run again. So our app is running, but there is a problem to it. The image is not visible. We can see this whole code is replica, and we changed the endpoint, and we got these different values here. But where is the image? We passed the image, right? So the image is not showing because probably because okay, maybe the image size is too large for the app. Okay, we have this size to the app, and the image could be larger than that. In such cases, the image might have it's bigger, and our app is smaller. So we'll change the size of the image. And the way to do that is actually go above, and here this is the image, and here we will change the fill mode. Okay, and the fill mode should be, what should be the fill mode? It should be there's something called as so what should be the fill mode? The fill mode should be something called as fill original or fill contain. It should be fill contain, right? Image dot fill contain. So now we have set our image fill mode to canvas. Now let's try to run our code again. Wait for our app to run. So our app actually ran, and let's see what's the output is. So our app is running. Let's see how the UI actually looks like. Okay, so this is the image we got, and these are the different values. So image is at the top because the value we passed, as we can see here, and that here in the new border, the first value is the top. It is for top. That is the reason we got the image at the top. And we can see, we also got the values of the Bitcoin in different currencies, right? We got the code, we got the rate, we got the description, and the rate in terms of float. And we also have these line numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have these white spaces, enter, and the image. This is what we actually wanted, and this is what we got. Now we will try to integrate this thing in our operating system. Okay, let's try to integrate this app into our operating system that we have already built. So let's move on to the operating system, integrate this app into it. So now we will try to integrate the app we just created in our operating system that we have already implemented. So let's look at the code of the operating system that we have already implemented. So this is the text editor. Okay, this is the text editor. It has an it has few buttons, and it also have a save functionality within when we open an tag. When we open a file, it can also save the updated file. Okay, so this is the button, which the code for the button, which has the functionality to save the updated file. Okay, now this is the weather API. Now weather API, we have used this open weather API, weather API. So in weather API, we have used this. So in weather app, we have used this weather API, which can actually call different cities. Okay, these are the cities which about whose data this app shows. And now this is the show gallery app, which is able to show the images. Images are actually contained here. Here we have set all the images, and this is the main file. Okay, the main file. In this file, we have set different these apps as function. Okay, you can see that these apps are functions. So gallery app. Okay, and these are integrated. These run. They run on click on button. Okay, when we click on button 3, show gallery app runs, and my window, which is the current window created by this main file, is actually passed to the my gallery app, and then it runs. So let's try to run our code. So I have already run the operating system, and we will look at how our operating system looks like. So it looks like some. So this is our operating system. It has 4 apps and an home button, and this is a random wallpaper that we have created. On clicking on weather app, the show weather app runs, and it has the ability to actually get the wind speed, temperature, and humidity by calling the API. Okay, so we can see it as we click on different cities, we are getting different values, right? So we're getting different values. So this is working. Now let's so calculator is like completely a different So calculator is opens in a new window. Okay, it doesn't open inside our desktop. And as we can see, as we click on the button, the operation it can perform operation 78 plus 6 equal to, okay, and 86 and okay 88. Let's enter some random some wrong operation. It gives us error and it shows the history. Okay, there's no history as of now. So we're going to clear it. 74 minus 6 gives us 68. Then we're going to 85 into 6 gives us this value. Let's enter an float type value. And okay, this gives us this. Now let's check the history. So history isn't working. So history works when we clear the button. Okay, so this is the thing. This was the last 3 operation that we conducted. As we can see here. So the calculator is running fine, and after this, let's have a look at the gallery app. So in the gallery app, we have these images, and all the as we click on different images, it shows different eagle, food. Okay. So as we keep on clicking, it shows different images. Okay. Now the text editor is similar to the calculator, and text editor is similar to calculator. It opens as a new window and not inside the main operating system. And as we can see, we can add a file. We can write some text, save and open file. Let's write something. Okay. Hey, this is file 0. Okay. Now let's save this. It opens in dialog box, and we can actually save this. You can save this. Let's save this in music. Okay, music folder. We have saved. So there was already a file, so it's saved. Overwrite it. Now let's open it. Inside the music folder, we have this file.0. File dot open this. Okay, so we have this another icon that opens. Let me add it. So this is the icon when we open any file. This is what this is what pops up when you open a file. We can actually edit. Okay, hey, this file is not for 0 but 1. Okay, now let's save this file. When we save this file, let's wait for a few seconds. So this on clicking on save, this the save dialog gets opened, and here we're going to again override the save file, and here comes here we have saved the file. Overwrite it, yes, overwrite it. System is hanging because of too many apps being opened. Okay, now our file has been saved. So we actually updated our file, right? So let's go to music folder again. Go to file 0, open it. So this was the file. Okay, it didn't got updated. Let's try to update it again. Okay, this is file. This is not file 0, but file 1. Okay, now let's save this. Save this in the music folder as save. Let's overwrite it. Yes, do overwrite it. And since okay, so let's open this again. And again, we go to the music folder. You see that there's this file, and let's open it. Okay. I think we have opened the wrong file. It should be in music folder. Music folder file.0. Open. It doesn't contain index. It has option of writing something, adding new file. This creates empty new file. Saving an option. Save is in button. Open button opens a new file. So when we save on any button, and dialog box opens. Okay, now this dialog box, let's suppose we are saving this file, new file .co.txt in music folder. Then we click on it, it saves the file. Okay, we can open any file. Here we go. Let's open this file. Let's open this file. Here it has some random text written. We also have another. Okay, so when we click on this, yeah, this thing I can actually, using this we can actually update our text in the file, and then click on save it. When we click on save it, a new dialog box opens on our window in our desktop, and then again we can save this file. Let's save it, overwrite it, yes. Okay, so we have all the functionality that we needed to have in our text editor. Okay, so we can actually create any file, update it, save it again. Gallery is an option. We have this calculator, weather app, which calls API, and we have an home button. Now we will integrate one another app, which is the app we just created, that is the currency converter, which actually gives us the value of Bitcoin in different currency. Let's integrate that into our operating system. So the way to do that. So to integrate in our operating system, what we need to do is we need to just copy paste our code from what we created. Okay, so we just copied the code we written earlier, and we're going to create another folder which will be show. Let's write it show Bitcoin. Why is it typing in show Bitcoin.go? Okay, and in this we're going to paste our code. And one of the things which we need to change before is the path. Okay, the path of the image. Where is the path of the image? It's somewhere in below. So this is the image we created, and we're going to set the path of this image, replace this with the path here. Okay, now the path here is so this was the path, and we're going to add an image which is price.png. Now this error is actually caused because we need to pass // Okay, and now we're going to call this, instead of actually creating a new app, okay, and a new window, what we're going to do is we're going to, yeah, and rename this as show Bitcoin. Show Bitcoin. And show Bitcoin is the function that we're going to run, and it's going to do everything that is required. Maybe this could cause any problem. No, this must not cause any problem. Yeah. So now we're going to go to our main file, and in the main file we're going to create another button, which is button 5. Okay, button 5 is created. We're going to copy our previous code and going to replace this button 5 with Bitcoin. No, maybe value. Bitcoin value. Okay, we're going to name this as Bitcoin value. So what we have used is we have used a widget, and the widget is the new button with icon. So it adds a title to the button. It has an icon and then a function. And using this function, we're going to call show Bitcoin function. Okay, and let's add another icon. What icon should we add? So account. Let's enter confirm icon. Okay, so this is the icon. This is the function that we're going to run. And now in panel content we have this thing, but here we have to add. We have to actually make this 6. Okay, we need to have 6 columns, and in the 6 columns, the first is desktop, and these are the 4 apps, and then we're going to add one or another button, which is our Bitcoin app. Now the show button actually should take a window. Okay, it should take any window, and it should take an what was the window name? My win. So it's going to take this window. Okay, because we want to run this app into our main operating system. This thing we want to make and change because we have passed in value. We will pass W, right? Here we have used a W for window. Yeah, W for window. We want to pass W and Fyne. W is Fyne dot window type variable. Okay, so this. So when this function run, my window will be actually passed to this function, and here this W will receive this W will receive the Fyne window, and this app will going to run the main inside the main window. So to run inside the main window, one another change that we have to do is, in most of the app we have done is this app dot, sorry. This thing. So we're going to copy and cut it, and instead of show and run, we're going to just show our app. Okay, we will not run our app because we have already run our app. And here, instead of tab, what we will do is w.content C. Instead of C, we will pass C this C as here. Okay, the panel content nil 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 and C. This is the container. This is the work. Now our app shows an error, which is my app, because we are just showing our app and not running. So this is the final output. It shouldn't cause an error. Show Bitcoin. Is it show Bitcoin? Really show Bitcoin. Show Bitcoin. Yeah, show Bitcoin. What's the problem with that? Show Bitcoin. So we did some error mistake. We actually named this as button 4 instead. It should have been 5. And here we actually wrote show Bitcoin. It should have been Bitcoin. Okay. Now all the errors have been resolved. Let's try to run our code. And we will close our previous operating system that we have actually run before. So let's run our app again. Go run start and wait for our app to run. So now our app is running, and as we can see, it has another button which is Bitcoin value that we just created and integrated into this operating system. When we click on it, this window opens. We get different, we get the line number, we get the value of Bitcoin in different currencies, the rate description, rate in float, and code, and these we have these colors. Okay, so this is our app on Bitcoin app that we created independently, and then we integrated into our operating system.